All right, we're going for a no-edit special today because we are busy as fuck.
What's new, though?
What's new? March is hell.
March is hell. I can't believe I got married in April last year.
I can't believe you did either because, well, our March wasn't this crazy last March, but March is always crazy.
I was thinking about timing for something else recently, and I was like, yeah, that's supposed to be done by the end of April, thinking it was mid-April for some reason. Nope, still March.
Still March.
March is on.
Everyone was like, did you see all those memes in February that was like, how is February the shortest month yet the longest month? No, March is the longest month.
March is the longest month, but
April is the cruelest month.
What?
That's who said that? That's a quote. Oh, T.S. Eliot. That's right.
Oh,
it's from The Wasteland.
Boy, I look stupid.
Well, I'm about to be in Chicago the first week of April, so it do be cruel there. It's gonna be cold as fuck.
I know. I'll be praying for you.
I'm not excited, especially because I'm going to a conference and I want to in the evenings go eat food or something, explore Chicago.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a fun walking around environment.
No, it was kind of mean of them to put it in Chicago.
Yeah, why not do because the one in August is in Dallas.
Yeah.
So why not do the March one in Dallas when it's fucking perfect here, and the August one in Chicago?
This is why we should be in charge of everything.
Yeah, last year the August one was in the DC area, which was perfect. It was warm but not hot. It was awesome.
But alas, you get to go eat a hot dog.
I get to go eat a hot dog, many hot dogs. I'm going to go to Three Dots and a Dash, our favorite place that we went.
Yes.
When we went to Chicago.
Love that place.
I love a tiki.
We love a tiki.
We love a tiki.
Good snacks.
Good snacks. I think we got the poo-poo platter.
I think we did.
So I'm going to do that. If anybody has Chicago food recommendations, I want them for dinner specifically.
Yeah. Send them to Katie.
Yeah, or to the podcast Instagram because legitimately I would like recommendations. That's not a joke.
Yeah, no. We're not kidding this time.
Yeah, I'm actually for real. Please DM me. Okay, so this episode we read a book that we have been talking about potentially maybe reading for the podcast for a couple months, and we finally pulled the trigger. It is You Between the Lines by Katie Naymon. Cute as fuck.
It is. Wait, the book or the cover?
Both.
I got opinions.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I'll get into it. And
yeah.
So I would also like to preface this discussion by saying I am not a poetry person, at all.
Got it. I am.
Yeah. So I'm putting all of that. I'm recognizing that it may tinge some of my thoughts about the book. But I also don't think it was too many. Just all of the kind of poetry stuff. I was like, okay, cool, whatever.
Sure.
I've never met a poem that I really loved all that much. I don't think.
Yeah, maybe, I mean it does. I guess it is appropriate that I started this by quoting T.S. Eliot.
I know.
You're like, what?
Who? There is a funny point when Lee at the very beginning is on one of her tirades about straight white men poets, and she name drops Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most influential things I ever read in high school was Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And so I was like, all right, Lee, fuck you too then.
Self-Reliance is mentioned heavily in The God of the Woods, which I just finished reading. Yeah.
That's on my list. I have my copy.
It was crazy, man.
Was it? Okay.
It was crazy.
Ooh, okay.
I finished reading when I texted you last Sunday and I was like, I think I'm going to read You Between, sit down and read the whole book today. I didn't. I read all of God of the Woods instead, which is a fucking 500-page book.
Damn, I'm impressed.
Yeah, well, I was already maybe 100 pages in or something like that, but I fucking chugged through it.
Good for you.
It was awesome. It kind of got to be one of those things where I was like, I'm kind of tired of reading, but I will not rest until I know.
I have to know
how
happens.
It ends. Yeah.
I love a book like that.
Yeah, it was awesome. Okay, so I really liked the opening line of this book. It hooked me. Because it kind of dipped right into.
Here's some nice ASMR.
I know. The opening line. So it starts. It's a prologue. It's 10 years ago, And it says, when Will Langford drags his pen over each line of my poem, slowly, as if to not miss a single word, I feel the movement scraped over my legs. And I was like, ooh, that's an interesting, like, vivid visual.
Yes. I was like, is it supposed to be sexy or painful?
I think that's the point.
Okay, so I will say about this book, there's some very lovely prose.
Yeah, beautiful writing.
Yes.
Katie Naymon is a beautiful writer.
And I would also, like, I know this is Katie Naymon's first book, and it is almost certainly, like, semi-autobiographical.
It sort of seems that way. Yeah, it sort of seems that way.
Yeah, so when I get into my my thoughts about the book, I know this, and they are not necessarily criticism of Katie Naymon.
Right.
I should say that first.
Yeah, I think, like, when you texted me your gripe about the book, I was like, I think that's kind of the point of the character. So your gripes are more perhaps about not liking the characters as people versus not liking the way the book is, like, constructed or put together or whatever.
So I was writing, when I was supposed to be focusing on something else, I was writing some little notes about my thoughts about.
Abigail just flashed me her serial killer handwriting.
It's fucking rude, man. It's in pencil, so it's a little bit better.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
I know. I'm realizing maybe, I don't know. I have not found the secret sauce to my neat handwriting. Sometimes it just comes out.
It's okay.
Quote unquote neat. But anyway, so the other thing about this book is that in a lot of ways, it did make me unpack my own, like, internalized misogyny.
Yeah. And imposter syndrome, certainly.
And my imposter syndrome in certain ways, but also in other ways of where I didn't want to be like a boomer, like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. But there were also points where I was like, I don't know, Lee, you should get it together.
Yeah.
So
I don't disagree. Anyway, so because we are so busy, we cannot go beat by beat through this as we normally do. We will do our best to hit the broad strokes, but this is like a lot of vignettes anyway. It's one of those books where there's a lot of little things, but only a few, like, major plot events.
Right. So, to kind of start the story, which we summarized when we did kind of our releases we were looking forward to. By the way, this was a Book of the Month add-on. It wasn't an official Book of the Month, but that's how I got it. Katie, you had the ARC, right?
I had the ARC. I ended up finding it at half price for like $5 when I was perusing the other day. So then I just bought the print copy because I was like, the cover's really cute. It's purple.
It is a very cute cover.
Yeah, it's a really cute. And I was like, fuck it. I think it was tagged.
Oh.
Because it was in the, like, new section at half price.
Interesting.
Where they're normally, like, normal
full
prices.
Yeah.
But it was like $5 and I was like, someone fucked up. I'm going to buy it.
Okay.
So I bought it. So I have it. I have the paperback.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the premise of the book is that Lee and Will went to high school together and were both, like, poet prodigies. And then they end up in the same MFA program in North Carolina. And one of the defining moments of Lee's, like, life/career as a poet is very early on, where Will says something about one of her poems as being, like, all style, no substance. And boy, does she carry that with her.
This is real.
So
that is something that would stick with me for the rest of my life if someone said that to me when I was fucking 17. That's one of those things where I would be like, God, remember that time that person said that thing, and, like, make it my vendetta to prove them wrong.
Yes, but that's the thing. You make it your vendetta.
Right.
Lee does not.
Yeah, she's pretty girlfriend throws a lot of pity parties.
Girlfriend throws a lot of pity parties. And so that was I don't want to get into it too early without, like, breaking into plot points. Hold on, let me pull up the plot point notes.
Yeah.
Because I do think this book is more ripe for discussion than it is for, like, plot discussion.
Totally. So while Abigail's pulling up her notes, I will say that this the main kind of overarching themes here, there's this, like, second chance romance thing where we get allusions to the fact that Lee and Will maybe almost kissed or something once. And then we also there's drama with Lee's parents. They're separated and she's struggling with that, which feeds into a lot of her insecurity and imposter syndrome around her work as well. And a lot of her imposter syndrome comes from the fact that she writes poetry about, like, pop culture versus, like, quote unquote serious shit. And so one of the things I did like about this book was the commentary on like let women enjoy things.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we can break this up into 3 themes that we can talk about of like the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Kind of the internalized misogyny of it, and then the romance itself.
Yeah. Let's do that.
All right. So let's talk about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
As you know, I think you had left a note in here about, you know, kind of I'm potentially reading your mind, and as journalists who don't do serious hard news,
yes,
this does hit home that we are not, you know, we've talked a little bit about like our body of work and like what we love to write and work on and whatnot. And Katie, of course, does true crime, which is at times very serious hard news journalism. But I write in like culture, lifestyle, pop culture. And, you know, in those moments where you are kind of around people who do a more serious form of your craft, whether that be like poetry or journalism or writing or whatever it is, or I don't know, probably something to do with math somewhere, there is the imposter syndrome of it all of like, well, does anything I do even matter?
Right. Well, and I think it also, sorry, Abigail and I went to see Dashboard Confessional last night.
At the rodeo.
At the rodeo, and my voice is more affected by that than I was expecting. So another layer of that I was thinking about when I was reading this book was we do this podcast, right? But we are also like, I feel like we often find ourselves, at least I do, trying to resist the urge to be like, yes, I read a lot of romance novels, but I promise I read like other stuff too. Like it's not just romance novels. And like I feel the need to like couch it with that sometimes. And I'm getting better at not doing that. But like when people are asking me like what do you like to read? And I'm like, well, it's mostly this. It's mostly romance, but other stuff too, you know? Or like one thing that has come up in my like dating life, dating men recently is, and they asked me about music and I'm like, I like the pop girls, man. Like look at my Spotify Wrapped. It's Taylor, it's Sabrina, it's Gracie, it's Charlie, you know, like, but then I have to be like, but I promise, like, I listen to, like, other stuff, too, you know, and, like, I often feel the need to, like, couch that, and I really try not to, but it's, like, just that it's the internalized misogyny thing of, like, I need to prove that I'm a serious person, even though I like, quote-unquote, unserious things.
Yeah, so we see Lee struggling with this a lot where even in like from the beginning where Will makes that first comment to her when they're like 17, 18, and then when she enters the MFA program and it's like 10 students, 5 fiction writers, 5 poets. And so like it's a small cohort. Like you get to know each other and unfortunately you get to know every way that somebody else is better than you, worse than you. They all know the same thing about you. It's ripe for comparison.
This is why I don't know if I went on a date with a guy who's in a like a creative writing group, and I was like, as much as I like writing creatively, I don't know if I could hack that. I don't know if I could have people examining my shit multiple times a week, like this, like in this deep of a way.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. I don't know if I could either, but I'm also not a creative writer. I could do this for like my regular writing.
Right. Yeah, totally.
I would love that.
Totally. I would actually very much welcome that.
I love to be edited. I really genuinely do.
I do too.
But, you know, this is a space that we're not as familiar with where it is so subjective, where a lot of times people are tearing apart our work. It's like questions like, how did you get here? How did you get this answer? How did you get this structure kind of thing?
Yeah. Or there's like you've left me with a question here, like answer that question.
Right.
Yeah.
Here it's, you know, reading the critiques from the other poets in the book of like, linger here, like draw out these, I don't know, syllables or something. Like that means nothing to me.
A lot of really interesting stuff in the feedback pieces of this book about like how people notice like pacing and stuff in poems. And I like poetry. I'm a very I have like many poetry books, but I'm a very like casual consumer of poetry. I don't know the like ins and outs of how a poem is like structured really beyond some of the stuff we learned in like, you know, high school fucking AP English or whatever. So it's interesting to kind of see how this works when you're thinking about poetry like more deeply and like kind of learning things about structure and how they put them together. So that was a really interesting kind of like peek inside like a poetry MFA kind of world that I had never really thought of, that has no bearing on the book whatsoever, but I just kept being like, oh, huh, Interesting. I never thought about a poem that way.
Yeah. So one of the things that really, I don't know if frustrated me is the right word, because we've talked about like being frustrated with a character and not being necessarily being frustrated with the way the book is written.
Right.
Like it can be a well-written book, but you can still not like the character at the end of the day. And I think that is mostly true here. I think it is a well-written book. I think it's got beautiful prose. Like, I think Katie Naymon is like obviously a good writer.
Yeah.
She published a book. It's more than I've ever done.
Yeah.
So who am I to say anything? But one of the things that really frustrated me about Lee is that she very much like embraced her imposter syndrome in a way that really held her back, and also dug her heels very much into this persona she had built of herself of like, I am like other girls and I have no interest in changing or thinking about that past, then like everyone else should accept that too, in a way.
Right.
Where then when she enters her MFA program, she becomes that I'm not like other girls person, in that she is judgmental as hell.
She becomes the I'm not like other girls in the opposite of the way that we normally see it. Yeah.
Where she's like, I like Taylor Swift and Love Island and One Direction. I'm going to write poems like this, and I'm not going to write poems like straight white men and all of my other cohorts.
Yeah.
And she gets really critical of especially Hazel in the book, who we don't get specific details on Hazel, but I don't believe Hazel is a white woman. Hazel does kind of write this very classic poetry, Lee often says, like about the moon and shit or something like that. And she gets really judgmental about it, where she's like, well, of course Hazel would get this because this is always who gets chosen, not me, not the girl who like likes Taylor Swift or whatever. Right. And it was very frustrating to kind of see, you know, the version of a woman who is quote unquote like other girls become this very negative version of that, where it is like that almost stereotypical version of a person who you don't want to be friends with because she thinks you're weird. Right. And that's kind of how she treats a lot of her cohort.
Yeah, like very typical, like popular girl.
Right.
Kind of judgmental and just like an immense lack of self-awareness.
Right. And
or too much self-awareness, but it bounces back and forth kind of based on like what she's self-aware about, I think. Like in some ways she's very self-aware, and in other ways she has no fucking idea what's going on.
Every time she says something about straight white male poets, I wanted to scream because I was like, you're a straight white woman.
Yeah.
It's not I'm so sorry, but like bestie.
Right. Like there is the like guy in your MFA stereotype, but like I feel like white woman in your MFA is like just one step below that.
Yeah, it's not. Come on, man.
Yeah.
And I know she also kind of, you know, has her imposter syndrome and her insecurities about, you know, like I don't necessarily have anything deep to write about, where she talks about like Casey, who writes about her eating disorder, or kind of Hazel and Will's poetry, and I think like Jerry, the guy that they all kind of make fun of.
Yeah.
But it seems very lovely.
He seems to really take it in stride, though. Yeah. That he's like, this is my role. I am the comic relief.
So he's chill with it. But like, you know, she like simultaneously like is angry or upset or, you know, commiserates that she doesn't have these serious things to write about, but also like refuses to do so. And that becomes a conflict later in the book, is that she can't figure out how to be vulnerable. But in the book, we spend a lot of time in Lee's head in a way that, I don't know if frustrated me is the right word, but to your point, we spend a lot of time in Lee's head in a way that, I don't know if it frustrated me, but girls got tunnel vision.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like reading this is like reading a very like turned up version of all of the worst things that your brain says about you. Like a very over, because as two people with, you know, who have experienced a fair amount of imposter syndrome, like all of these thoughts are very real, but I'm not having them as frequently as Lee is, nor have I ever, even when I was like at my peak imposter syndrome.
unfortunately, Katie and I have developed a little bit of a God complex at the end of the day. But that's not to say we are still younger women who work in writing and journalism
creative
and podcasting.
fields,
Like, like those things don't go away just because you become pretty good at them.
Right. Like the feeling of reading somebody else's work and being like, fuck, I'm never going to be that good is never going to go away.
No. And that's a good thing.
Right. I use stuff like that to make myself better.
Right.
To be like, I love how they did this. I want to see if I can do something like that.
Right. Exactly. Like you put that stuff in your pocket and think, well, okay, I didn't hit it out of the park this time, but like I'll try again next time or whatever. Maybe I can do something different. Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. How can I work in what's working about their thing into something of mine that's not working kind of stuff.
Then on the other side of Lee's imposter syndrome, when it comes especially to the fellowship with Erica Go, who understandably she feels kind of possessive toward, who is like her favorite poet ever, who none of the other kind of poets in the cohort were super familiar with. Erica Go, who is a fictional poet, is like a poet who writes about pop culture, kind of in the way that, that Lee does. And Lee is like, she says often, like, I deserve this fellowship. And then does nothing to get it.
Right.
In a way that frustrated me a little bit from like a character development perspective where we see a little bit of her imposter syndrome where it's like, oh, I'm not going to get it because, they're going to pick like a Will or a Hazel because they're like classic poets, even though I deserve it because I write the same way. But then she doesn't speak up in class. She doesn't approach Erica to like talk to her, connect with her. She bails on her first year reading.
Yeah.
Which I don't fully blame on her because her parents telling her they were getting divorced right before that is fucking crazy.
Yeah, she more or less has a panic attack.
Yeah. So
valid.
I'm not going to blame her there so much.
Right.
But, and then when she finds out that Will has pulled himself out of the running for the fellowship, she's like, oh, so you don't think I can win it fair and square? And I'm like, well, girly, you're last of the pack.
Right.
You're not really doing much of anything.
Yeah, it was really frustrating to me when she was like choosing the poems that she wanted to submit. And she was like, I don't really like the ones that I've written to submit. And I was like, okay, so we're going to write some different ones. And this is going to be the
ones you submit.
The development arc. Nope, she just sends in the subpar ones.
Right. And because she thinks it's kind of what Erica wants to read.
Yeah.
One of the most frustrating things, I think, and I really don't want this to come off as like me just like bashing Lee, but I think this was a book I had a really hard time connecting with the heroine because I felt like we didn't get a lot of insights into her besides that she has a lot of insecurities and she's like other girls.
Right.
And those were the personas that she had like built for herself.
Yeah, we see her struggling with her parents' divorce, but we don't really find out what it is that is so hard about it for her other than the fact that it's just like she is like surface level just like hoping they get back together.
The mean part of my brain was like, girl, grow up.
Yeah, same. Like she's 27 in this book and right? Yeah, 27 and like that's something that, a child does and hopes for.
The best part of Lee's like character development, or the most revealing part of this, is when she kind of confronts her mom, and she does it in a really bratty way that really kind of pissed me off.
Yeah.
But where she is telling her mom, every time you say you're just like your dad, it feels like you're rejecting me.
Yeah.
And that was the part where I wish I could tell Katie Naymon, linger here, or
right,
whatever.
Exactly. Like that was, we like get to the surface level of like why Lee is so upset, but we don't really
and that
get anything beyond that conversation.
Yeah, that is a reason to be sad and upset
yeah.
about your parents, is like feeling rejected by them, which she has this conversation with her therapist of
right.
like, it feels like a rejection of me and who I am. Like I got all the shitty parts of my parents and neither of them want anything to do with me.
Right.
But that's not really the case. They just don't like each other.
Right.
And her mom does at some point say too, like, you have to let me not be happy with him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I wasn't now. We were at one point. Your childhood was not a fraud, but like, man, I'm sorry. It's just like not working anymore. And, I think in a way, some of that could have been explored a little bit more of like, it's kind of this, what feels like a little bit of a blip in the book where it's like she's coming to this realization and it's not necessarily a point that was really driven home.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think like, yeah, I did, this book did make me want to go back to school though. Which is a thought I have at least once a week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was thinking that we're always looking for books to read in August and September around back to school season.
I know.
And this one would have been perfect for that. But
I know. I was kind of surprised that it came out in March. I was
me
like,
too.
Oh, maybe it should have been in like an August or a September.
Yeah, because it's also a really springy looking cover too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah. What else do we need? I guess let's talk about the romance piece now, unless you have anything else to add on your other points.
No, I think I'm good right now.
Yeah, so I do like the romance here. Will is sort of giving A Man Written by Emily Henry a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So, and again, for the people who listen to this podcast and don't read the books, sorry.
Yeah.
But hopefully you read the book.
You know what you're getting into,
Yeah.
so not sorry.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
choose to be here.
You know, this is when we're having an overarching discussion about not a necessarily plot by plot point.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, so in the romance, we have a second chance, kind of a third chance.
Kinda, yeah, because they're crushing on each other in high school.
They have one meeting at Middlebury.
Yeah, in college, where they almost kiss.
Did they not actually kiss?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, they kind of both admit to each other. She finds a poem that he had written about her.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I like you, I've always liked you. Which I was like, girl, you haven't seen this man in like 6 years.
I know. You're still carrying a torch for this guy who was a dick to you in your workshop?
Yeah. And so then they like come back together at the MFA program. And same kind of deal where it takes like a minute for them to get together. They have these hookups. They both finally admit that they like each other. And then they're like together at one point. And then the reason that they break up is partially Will pulling out of the fellowship and Lee being like, you think you're better than me. And then...
Although I do want to say, in the grand scheme of silly breakups we've had, this one would really upset me too if the person I was with just did this like without discussing it with me first.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a silly breakup.
No.
I think these were two very flawed people who were obviously going to break up at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. If I were with somebody like fairly seriously, which I know by this point they haven't been together for like all that long, but it seems serious, and he just like did this, I would feel like, oh, so you don't think I could win on my own. You're just trying to give it to me. I would think that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I would be upset if he did it without telling me, because this is such a big, important thing, that I would be mad that like he didn't tell me for my own sake, but also, why didn't you tell me that you're not going to do this thing that I thought was so important to you? Why is that not a thing we can talk about? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. And then what also leads to the breakup is her revealing that she knows he like plagiarized a poem in college or something. And so it's like all like not complicated. Like this is a reasonable reason that these people are not still together.
Totally. And like you said, they've kind of been, them and the reader, we've all been kind of hurtling toward this point for a while in the book, because their relationship and getting together and the whole thing is very chaotic.
Right, exactly. So the romance aspect, what worked for you?
I one of the tropes that I love is when the guy has just like been quietly in love from afar for forever, and there are all these moments in the book where he like, you can tell he's like trying to tell her or trying to talk to her, and then either she cuts him off or something interrupts or whatever. And I kind of love that aspect of a will they won't they kind of second chance. So like that worked for me. I like Will as a character. I was swooning over the flirting over the comments on their writing, which is maybe a pretentious as fuck thing for me to say.
No, because Lee's best moment for me is when he does that poem of like breaking down in a parking lot in Pittsburgh or whatever, and she leaves the comment on there of like, Tufts is in Medburg, not Cambridge.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, shit. That's really good.
Yeah, I really loved the flirting back and forth on their notes. I thought that was really, maybe it's pretentious of us to think that, but it's really cute.
I mean, but it is really cute.
Yeah.
It's like they're flirting in the way that the environment has given them.
Exactly. And it's like the moments we get in this, those are the moments in this book that are like the kick in your little feet moments where you're like, oh, what is he going to say on this poem or whatever?
Right. I did like those. But they were also interesting in that we get to see Will's critiques. And, like, she mentions a lot, like, he is very good at critique. Like, he's very skilled at this. Like, there's a reason everyone, like, loved him in high school or whatever. It's like, he's just really good at making poems better at the end of the day. But the book almost sets up the, like, intellectual power imbalance between Lee and Will in that we see Will's comments. We never really hear Lee talk or see her comments in the program. Like, there's a point where he, like, mentions that she has this, like, look on her face when she knows she's going to say something smart in class. But we never see it. Like, we never see, really, Lee say anything smart.
Right. Like, we get a few of her comments, but they always come after, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to say. And maybe this was a commentary on how, so, like, I think I'm a better writer than I am an editor. You're a great editor. You're also a great writer, but you're a great editor. But not everybody who's a good writer is a good editor, and not everybody who's a good editor is a good writer. And and Will gets to that point in this book where he's like, I'm better at giving feedback than I am writing poems.
Yeah.
And so I kind of thought maybe that was supposed to be the reverse for Lee. We were supposed to be like, she's really good at writing but bad at critiquing, but it never really, like, closes the gap on what we're supposed to take away from her struggling with making comments, other than the fact that she's insecure, I guess.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, like, what frustrated me about Lee as a character, and again, I don't want this to come off as a criticism of Katie Naymon, because she wrote this from in a personal standpoint.
Right.
She went to school in Ohio.
Yeah.
She went to an MFA program in North Carolina.
Yeah.
She was a sorority girl.
Right.
We're not stupid. We know.
Right.
And, like, that's fine. Like, especially for your first swing at it.
Right.
Like, I don't know what I'd write my first book about, but probably something I know about. Again.
Right. And for, like, maybe Lee is supposed to be an extension of Katie, the author. Like, maybe it, because the whole time I was like, this is really just like almost like a caricaturized version of, like, a person with imposter syndrome. And it got me thinking, like, is that kind of the point, that this is, like, really turned up and it's supposed to be caricatured? Or is this the author, like, projecting all of her worst thoughts into the book? You know what I mean?
Right.
Or is it, like, a pretty one-dimensional character? Like, I don't know which of those things it is, because I don't know Katie, the author, or her intentions.
Right. And I think that is probably, like, my biggest problem with the book is that Lee became incredibly, like, one-dimensional throughout. And we never really get what seems like a moment of Lee succeeding or having we have her breakthrough with her therapist of, like, her kind of realizing she's a people pleaser, but it's also kind of with all of these asterisks.
Right.
And, like, no, she did not deserve that fellowship, and I'm glad she did not get it. So, but, like, you don't see her win, and you also know why you don't see her win, because she doesn't work to win.
Right.
And so she just kind of, there was a point, like, late in the book where it made me laugh, where she's like, I haven't wallowed yet. And I was like, I don't know.
I think you've been wallowing this whole time, girlfriend.
Yeah. And I think, with that, part of the romance didn't, I liked Will and Lee. I think I liked Will. There were a couple moments of Will and Lee that I really liked.
Yeah.
The pumpkin patch.
Yes.
When they were at the, like, mountain retreat, like, those were good. And those felt like we were so close to, like, getting an actual kind of peek into Lee and Will and, like, why they still care about each other. Frankly, I don't know why Will was holding a torch for her for 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't get to see, like, why that was, because Lee doesn't have any good wins. That sounds so mean. But
no. I'm with you. And we don't get Will's perspective is what I was.
And we don't
say.
get And so it's kind of like, oh, does he talks about how great of a writer and how genius she is or whatever, but she doesn't believe it. She doesn't prove it to us. So what the hell is he seeing?
Right. One thing that I also like Will is like one of my favorite tropes of men for a lot of reasons, but I also like the kind of like straight man to chaotic woman kind of balance in a relationship. So I feel like that them kind of being a foil to each other in that way does work within the relationship in the context of the book of, she's so like, I don't know, and he's like steady.
Yeah, he is steady. Yeah.
Maybe that's because I feel like that's the kind of man I need.
A steady one.
Because I'm like, la, 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 and I need somebody to be like, hey.
Calm down.
Relax. It's fine.
Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Applications open.
Yeah, applications open. Are you calm?
Calm, collected, a man over 5'5"? Just a little bit.
Just at least a tiny bit taller than me.
Just a little bit. It's fine. Katie's wearing platform Converse today too, so
I am, yeah.
We do be wearing boots around here.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure almost all of my shoes except for my sandals have some kind of platform or heel.
Someone once told me I have 5'8" energy, and I was like, that is so kind. And you know why? It's because I'm wearing Docs all the time.
Well, Chris, our personal trainer, told me I have 5'7" energy recently.
Oh, well, yeah. Again, we be wearing tall shoes.
Yeah.
Not heels, just big shoes.
Just big shoes. What else do we want to hit on? Because I have a meeting.
And I have to go to a panel.
Yep.
No, I think like I hope Katie Naymon never listens to this episode because I don't want to tear her down because this is her first book and it takes a lot. But
I don't know how much of the criticism has to do with her actual writing, though.
No, okay, yes. I should say that because I think she's a beautiful writer and there's a reason that she got an MFA.
Right.
And I think she does a great job of kind of illustrating those insecurities, that imposter syndrome. Unfortunately, just created a very unlikable character. Yeah. And one that, lacked some of the maturity, I think, of a person.
Yeah, I think there's such a fine line between creating an honest character and an unlikable one because this might be an honest character.
Sure, yeah.
But because there are people who are like this.
That is true.
But does that make this person worthy of being the lead character in a book? I think.
I know. Yeah, I think that's. She kind of, at points, Lee reminded me of January in Beach Read.
Yeah. That's what, that at some point I wrote a note saying this book is kind of giving M. Hen.
A little bit, yeah. But unfortunately, a less fleshed out version.
Less sympathetic.
Certainly less sympathetic. Yeah. And yeah, I think, when we had mentioned this book the first time, I was like, this feels like a spiritual prequel to Beach Read because Gus and January had met in college. Yeah. I don't remember if it was MFA or undergrad, but so I'm curious if that's where maybe she got a little bit of the idea. Right. Because it does feel very spiritually similar.
Spiritually similar for sure.
And you kind of see this tortured serious writer versus this fluffy, I say that in quotes. Right. Pop culture writer, but it just doesn't quite get to the kind of intimacy that we would get with January and Gus and Beach Read. And Beach Read is also from one perspective. Yeah. But it felt like the only tone of being in Lee's head was, I'm insecure and also I'm judgmental. So I think that's I want Katie Naymon to take a swing at something that's not her. Yeah. I think is.
What an interesting commentary considering in the book, the Will's criticism towards Lee is to do something that is her instead of something else.
You're so right. Yeah. I did not put that together, but I think, it was nice to see Lee figure out how to get vulnerable at the end, but to your point, her vulnerability was not that interesting.
Yeah. All in all, I had a good time reading this book. The writing is really beautiful. My copy is full of a lot of post-it flags because there were like a few turns of phrase that I was like,
Oh, great turns of phrase.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
Really great turns of phrase. And I wish we could have listed all of them because, again, beautifully written in points. I just perhaps wish it had applied elsewhere.
Yeah. I'll pull out some of my favorites for Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will. I'm sat for the next Katie Naymon.
Yeah,
I
will read it.
Yeah.
I will read it for sure.
Yeah.
I want to kind of like eventually we said about Jen DeLuca of Get Out of the Ren Fair.
Yeah.
I would like to see Katie Naymon not write about an MFA program.
Yeah.
Or writers in general, actually.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes you can be too close to your craft.
Yes, that is certainly true. Are you reading anything else that is not this currently?
No, but guess what, everyone? It's about to be Abby, Emily, April.
Abby, Emily, April.
I love that this is now a yearly thing. That we get an Abby Jimenez and then we get an Emily Henry.
Well, and then in June we get Sarah and Ashley.
I know. Oh my gosh. We get 2 excellent months a year now.
All the girlies.
So our next book will be Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, which will come out like, it's going to be kind of funky in that it's going to come out, like the episode will come out like a weekish after the book comes out.
Right.
And then the Emily Henry episode will come out 2 days after the book comes out, which Katie and I will make because we're not going to do anything else. But that'll probably be a no-edit special, just as a warning.
And I know some of you crazies will have also finished the book with us. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I have not read Say You'll Remember Me yet. I have the arc, but I have not read it yet.
Yeah, I've been saving it.
All right, good. I'm glad we both saved it. So.
Yeah. I think that's a when I'm in Chicago, like that's a plain book.
I'm really excited to get back with these women
Me too.
Love so much.
Our girls. All right. Well, we will see y'all for Abby.
And Emily. But first
Abby.
First Abby.
So pre-order the book if you haven't already from perhaps our bookshop.
Yeah, if you feel so inclined.